Next, joining us now from Washington, D.C. is Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
And by the way, we love your desk.
Thank you very much. I'm getting a lot of feedback on my desk these days.
All right. Let's talk about one of the big stories of the week, which is President Trump saying he wants the economy back open and basically giving the governors the green light to do things the way they want to do them. Gavin Newsom says he likes the broad strokes of what the president's saying. What say you?
Well, you know, initially the president said that he alone was going to decide to reopen the country whenever he deemed it fit. But he's, I think, had to acknowledge the reality that, no, the governors are going to make these decisions on the basis of what's best for the people in their state. And you're already seeing governors band together with other governors in the region to try to work collectively because, of course, the virus doesn't stop at state borders. But they want to make sure, the governors want to make sure, and I think this makes all the sense in the world, that they are ready before they talk about reopening. This push to prematurely open, really on a day when we had the greatest number of coronavirus deaths, over 4,000 in a single day, doesn't make sense until we're ready and could lead to more misery for people.
You know, the economy is a miserable situation right now. One of the things that you guys did in Congress was you passed this $350 billion for small business loans, which really has allowed some people to keep their employees employed. Now that's out of money, and there's a debate about what happens next. What do you say to people that are really desperate right now and that see this bickering in Congress and say, what's going on there?
Well, I've been on the phone with small businesses, with small nonprofits. They want to see this program continue, and I think on a bipartisan basis, so do the members of Congress. But they've identified a lot of problems with it. People, particularly customers of large banks that apply, that are told, don't call us, we'll call you, have no idea whether their application is moving forward or not moving forward. And it looks like the big banks are giving their favored customers the best treatment and leaving others behind. We want to make sure those problems are addressed.
Have you worked out a framework to potentially vote virtually or do virtual caucuses to actually make some of this legislation happen?
We're exploring not remote voting yet, but rather being able to designate a proxy so that someone who is in ill health or very distant from the Capitol that doesn't want to or can't take the risk of getting on a plane right now because they're quarantined or for some other reason, they could say, I'm going to give my proxy to this member to vote for me, but it would be under very narrow circumstances. It would be not a broad delegation that says, for example, Adam Schiff could vote for me, but rather on this vote, this is how I want the vote conducted, and I'm going to authorize so-and-so to cast that vote for me.
One issue that may not have as much bipartisan agreement, but is certainly an interesting idea, is this Federal Paycheck Guarantee Act, which you are now supporting. Explain to folks how that would work and talk about if that has a chance of passing.
I've thought really for months now that the best approach to this economic problem that we have, this economic crisis, is not a quilt of different programs, a $500 billion fund for these industries and a different fund for smaller businesses and overwhelming our unemployment compensation system, but rather have the federal government, as the British government and the Swedish and Norwegian and other governments are doing, have the federal government guarantee a large percent of payroll, 80 or 90 or even 100% of payroll, until we get through this, so that workers don't get laid off. They don't have to go on unemployment. When the economy comes back, they don't have to start looking all over again for a job. Businesses don't have to close, and it's done fairly. To me, that's simpler, more equitable, and it can be done through the IRS more quickly than through the commercial banks and the SBA.
So how expensive is that, and are you seeing any Republican support for it?
Depending on what range you use, the costs differ. It might be $150 billion a month. But frankly, the way we're going through the funds for the small business program, the amount we've allocated for large industry, we're going to go through that amount anyway. And it would be better, I think, to do it in a more equitable way, in a way that avoids people and small businesses and laying off large numbers of people.
Let's talk for a moment. We always like to have a little fun on this show. Quarantine life, what it's like for you. And we spoke recently, you said you were not doing The Tiger King. You were doing old movies. Have you changed on that? And what are you watching these days?
Well, I just watched Diner, which was fantastic. I hadn't seen it in years. And so I'm continuing with the old movies. I'm also really jumping from show to show to see, which one will capture my attention. And I'm open to recommendations of your audience. But one thing I will tell you is my daughter gave me a haircut. You can be the judge of how she did. But if people look at my Instagram page, they'll see the video that she put together of it, which I thought was quite clever. But then she is my kid, and I think everything she does is very clever.
Very nicely done. I don't know, were you a band person back in school, in high school or middle school?
I played jazz saxophone and clarinet.
Okay,
but
I also played saxophone back in the day, and we like to feature different music on this show. So I want to show this video to you. It's from Miracosta High School in Manhattan Beach. Their band, they were all set to head to Washington D.C. to perform for leaders like you, but obviously they can't do that right now. So they made a video with 150 band members performing virtually. It's pretty awesome. Fantastic. A little Jackson 5. Let's listen. So bravo to those band kids.
Wow.
It's I Want You Back from Jackson 5. Congressman, we want you back in the studio sometime soon. But until that day...
I will see you on the other side of the curve.
Yeah, we'll see you on the other side of the curve. We appreciate you joining us. Nicely done again on the decorations, and enjoy those old movies. The hair looks nice.
Thank you.